Uh, Thanks for bringing the globe. That was really nice. And we can benefit from it in the weeks to come. When people mention the world, a lot of us think of a globe, but that's not. But that's not our world. I mean, I've never even been in the Pacific Ocean. Do not wish to be in the Pacific Ocean, for that matter, or hardly any other parts of it. I've been on a tiny, minuscule section of land, mostly called Knoxville, Tennessee, although I have traveled elsewhere occasionally. When we say the world, we usually think of all the external stuff that we move through each day. And it has some kind of effect on us, and so it includes the people in our lives as well as the structures. And we all know that the people are most important, although structures do matter. And all this is the world. And the course says, well, not exactly. It's just the props with which you make your world, because you make it through your interpretation and understanding of these props. One of you could look out upon a bunch of clouds and see one kind of world. Ooh, a storm is coming, say. Somebody else could look at the same clouds and say, what a beautiful sight. Look at how they do this, that, and the other. At any rate, your interpretation is yours. And we call this perception. We perceive the world. We can perceive it through fear. We can perceive it through love and happiness. We can perceive it in 100 different ways, So we have with us today this lesson. I'm not the victim of the world I see. Let's think a minute. The world I see. That means the world your perception has made for you. It will not necessarily be the same as somebody else's, because the course says the world as such has no meaning in and of itself that you have to accept. You get to choose, at least in a limited sense. You can't choose to see it as Venus. You wouldn't know what Venus would look like if you were on its surface anyway. In fact, it wouldn't look like anything, but you can't exist on the surface of Venus. But to a limited degree, very wide range of possibilities here. You can have it look however you wish, you through your choice. Through the choices that you make. So this is a world of perception, and let's think a little bit now about how you're supposed to respond to it, or what it's supposed to mean for you. Are you supposed to detach from it, deny it, or die from it? Detach, deny, or die. There's 3 possibilities that come to mind. There are, I guess, others. And the course says that if you die from the world, that's misleading, because that doesn't take you out of the world. It takes you out of your physical body. Your physical body is not there anymore. But the world made by your mind is still there. And you will return, if you so choose, if it's appropriate for you, to this world, and just pick up another body, another used car, okay, drive it for a while, see what the world looks like from the viewpoint of that particular vehicle. But the course does say that. It says that the world is not left by death. It's left by truth. And that's what it's saying, what it's referring to. You get to come back again and again and again, or at any rate, you don't leave the world. You made it. If your mind is not healed from the making of it, it will just continue to make it, maybe in a different form. You don't have to call it coming back if you don't. Well, it's going to be a world of perception. You'll be perceiving something somewhere. The details are not particularly important. but you will not leave the world by death. That is a big misconception that an awful lot of people have. By the way, let me say you will not leave it necessarily. You could leave it by death because you might be having truth fully grasped, and so that would be fine. You leave it by truth. Oh, yes.
You can be on Venus.
But not in physical form.
We're always in physical form, it seems. Let's get out of physical form, at least in conversation and dialogue.
Well, I don't mean to argue that we can be on Venus. I'm not quite sure what you mean by it, but do you mean in a physical body or an energy body?
We are more than this physical body.
Well, yes, we are. So you didn't mean physical. I just wanted to make sure my understanding of the temperature of the surface of Venus wasn't off. I don't think physical bodies would manage it, but other types of bodies could definitely do that. And some people experience these other bodies and actually go out of the consciousness can actually leave the physical body and go to Venus or wherever. I don't know what all the destinations might be. So the bringing us back to our attention back to the world for a minute. And leaving the world in an energy body. I think that, as I understand it, when people die, you're deprived of a physical body temporarily, but generally reacquire it later. The physical body is a great learning tool. The Course says, in fact, that's the way the Course describes the body. It's called a learning device and a communication medium. We need it to communicate with others, but the higher purpose of it has to do with learning. Now let's think a little bit about the world and what its purpose is. If it's up to you to give them whatever meaning it has for you, if it's up to you to give that meaning, well, does the Course tell us or suggest what meaning we can give to it? And it does in a very potent quote that we refer to quite frequently here. It says, forget not that the healing of God's Son is the only purpose the world has. That's all it is for. You can give it other purposes, and you probably do that every day of the week. Well, the purpose of the world is so I can get up Monday morning and go to work. Well, you may be doing that, but that's not the purpose of the world. As the Course is suggesting, it is for your healing, whatever healing occurs as you are driving to work. Not the driving to work, but the healing. And okay, what type of healing are we talking about? Let's think a little bit let's ask the question in this way about that. Let's think of salvation. The subject of most religions, or a lot of them at any rate, is salvation. They'll say, my religion offers salvation to you, if you will accept it. Well, what kind of salvation might they be thinking of? Sin comes to mind. Many religions embrace the idea of sin. The Course does not. It says you can't be saved from sin because there's no such thing as sin. Now, the mind at first might be repelled by that because it would think that, well, if there's no sin, there's no need for punishment, and that means the world is going to be a chaos of meaningless attacks and death and all kinds of violence and problems. Well, the Course does not believe in punishment at all, in any case or in any situation. That's my understanding. If you have something different, I'll ask you where is it that the Course says that, because I'm not aware of it. I'm totally not aware of it. And so I don't mind your believing it. That's your business. But if you think it's in the Course, you will need to tell me where, because I've not ever seen it. and no one's jumping up, feel free to disagree, by the way. I never care. It just doesn't make me any difference. You're free to think whatever you want. But to say it's in the course will either be a factual statement or not, and I will need the reference, please. You see. And the reason I'm saying it that way is because I feel pretty certain that no one here even thinks that. If you do, that's fine, but I doubt it. Welcome. Where's a good chair? Pick any chair that you wish. We're talking a little bit this morning about the world, having just made the point that you cannot leave the world by death. You leave it by truth. And that is, so therefore salvation involves truth. Seeing things truly. And it has nothing to do with sin. So what does it have to do with? What do you need to be saved? It's not that the course doesn't talk about salvation, it does. But what would it say that you need to be saved from? The world? Well, not really, because the world's neutral. It's not doing anything to you. Your perception of the world? Yes. There we have it. It's not the world itself. It's just a globe, for goodness sake, that happens to be turning, right? We need to be saved from the perception that we have, and not primarily. It doesn't hurt to think the world is round or even that it's flat, although in my opinion, it's not. That's just my opinion in it. But if you think it will bring you the life that you want to have, that's another matter. If you think that it is where you will find truth, that is another matter. And we come here to discover that that is incorrect. The world is not the source of truth. And so you can look for truth in the world. And people do that all the time. They spend the whole 70 years or whatever, 50, 70, 80, whatever, looking for truth in the world. It's kind of like Ponce de Leon? Was he the one that looked for the fountain of eternal youth? To the best of my knowledge, he did not find it. If he did, he would still be around here telling us about it, I suppose. So you can look for truth here, and that's what most people do. Truth to me roughly means that which works forever. Untruth means that which might work for a little while, but not very long, and now it's broken. So it didn't work. The physical vehicle is not true. It doesn't work forever. After a while it quits. Truth is eternal instead of just temporary. Dan has just stolen one of our computers. But he has a good destination for it. So the course actually says that there's only one thing that is wrong, and it's not you. It is your perception. Only perception can be wrong. So that's all you need to be saved from. And the world of perception is here for you to use let the Holy Spirit use for you for that purpose. Now, I like to really emphasize out here, and you may get tired of hearing it, but I don't get tired of saying it because it's so true. And that is that if you don't forget that that is the only purpose of the world, you are no longer under the world's laws of violence and death. You're only under God's law. This is totally unbelievable by almost anybody and everybody, at least when they hear it the first time. So maybe that's why I want to repeat it, bing, try to keep your attention. That's an incredible thing to say. You are no longer under the world's laws of violence and death. Do you want to be there? Well, of course not. Who would? But only if you see the purpose of you see the healing of God's Son as the only purpose. Now you say, well, I see that's the purpose, but it's also the purpose of fun and games. I like fun and games. Fine, I'll say fine. X meaning you don't, that the other statement doesn't apply. free from the laws of the world. Not if you're using the world for another purpose. You're not. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not about sin. It's just what purpose are you using it for and what's the consequence of it. If you are tired of being under the world's laws of violence and death, then do as best as you can to see as the purpose of this place and the place that we make of it in our own minds is purpose is the healing of your mind. Now, the Holy Spirit is our helper in healing of our mind. The Course says you really can't do it by yourself. The Course thinks you are terribly, terribly sick in your mind. You don't need to, and so sick that it's probably useful to be institutionalized. The globe is the institution. And we're here for a while. And you don't leave it just by dying. You got to walk out the front door of the prison, if you want to think of it as a prison, healed. And so how do I heal my mind? Immediately becomes our attention. Well, how do I view the body? In other words, the idea here is to detach from whatever the world offers as a substitute for truth. Don't take it as truth. It isn't. Every time you watch the TV and see something about the world and think it really is that way, you're taking your truth from the world. This is a very extreme thing I'm saying here, at least my opinion. And I'm so delighted that it's so extreme. Not everyone will be delighted. It says that all the suffering in the world is unreal. Unreal. That does not give you or me the excuse to not be compassionate, because the people who are suffering, they don't know that. So as a part of the healing of the mind is to see all these problems are not real and are nothing, but all that are experiencing need my love and attention because they think it is. And so we are here to join with them and in whatever way Spirit directs us. And we express that here each Sunday morning by saying, I'm here only to be truly helpful. The word only is important. It goes with that other word, the world purpose. It has only one, because the Course is simple in a certain sense. It could have said this is one of the 450 purposes or reasons I'm here. No, it's the only reason you're here. You don't have another one, at least not that's valid. You can assume you do. Okay, fine. Now you're back under the laws of the world. So I'm not up here telling you that's wrong. I'm just saying that they're harsh. The world is rather harsh. The laws of nature, there's no kindness built into them. An avalanche falls, it hits whoever's at the bottom of the mountain. You know, nature is not kind. At all. Animals eat each other. My goodness. It can be seen as beautiful, and we can see it as any way that our mind chooses to see it. And so we don't have to dwell on its terrible inequities. But if you regard those inequities as real, then you're dwelling on it and giving it power and saying, I'm accepting as true what the world has to offer. You do not have to do that. And you're not committing some kind of crime like head in the sand, refusing to see reality. Reality is the sand, if you want to say it that way. But it's better to say that the sand actually is the world, and your head is in the sand only when you're accepting the world as real. It's not a sin. It just has consequences, and they're called the world's laws of violence and death. Well, can I escape those? Yes, of course. But the way it is, the only way I know of is the one that the Course says. Accept its purpose as of the purpose of the world as healing. The world is very seductive, very, very seductive, particularly with all our communication abilities. And we see there are so many problems in the world. It's mind-boggling. if we started, we could list problems. We could put a sheet of paper on the wall and start writing problems. We could write all day long. So as soon as I ran out of things, someone else would pick it up and we'd keep writing, the one after another. If you don't have another, just flip on the TV. Oh, there's another. You know. You don't have to solve them. You just have to see them differently. Now that's an awful thing to say, unless it's true. If it, you know, it even sounds awful to me. Oh, I don't have to solve the world's problems. I thought I did. The Course says, no, you don't. You just have to see it differently. There's nothing wrong with loving the world, but as it really is. Some books tell us that the world actually has consciousness. They even give it a name. They call the world, the earth, the Gaia, Gaia or something like that. Some people can talk to trees too. I don't happen. Well, of course I can talk to trees. They just don't talk back. I cannot communicate. I can talk to anything that I want to talk to, but there's just no back and forth communication there. But with some people, there is. So the world is not a repository of truth. That's not so that we're being told that we don't have to seek for it there, and we seek for it in all kinds of ways. If we're trying to cure it, you know, when I say you don't have to heal it, that doesn't mean you can't be truly helpful. If people need water and you have water, give them water. You know, if building more wells will help them have more water instead of having to walk 10 miles to a river or something, it might be truly great to do that, but do it under the advice and counsel of the Holy Spirit. He knows, one, whether the well really matters or not, and if it does, where it needs to be dug. I mean, you know, and whether you need to do it. You may not. Yes, it may matter. Yes, it may to dug, but he actually wants you someplace else. I don't know. The Course says we can't do this on our own understanding. So you have to ask for a higher guidance to help you in that. And it may very well be that you're involved all your life working for the UN in backward countries, improving conditions. That's not going against the teaching of the Course. The teaching of the Course is that I'm assuming the Holy Spirit sent you there. That's what's important. If the Holy Spirit hadn't sent you there, it doesn't matter. You can't do it by yourself. When I say this, I don't mean that the workers who are doing this kind of work, if you were to ask them, by the way, the Holy Spirit sent you here, they may say, what's the Holy Spirit? I'm an atheist, whatever. It doesn't matter. The Holy Spirit speaks to everybody, whether they think they're an atheist or not. We're not the only people that can hear the Holy Spirit. Please, we certainly know that, right? Well, and being a religious person, that's not the only person either. In fact, the Course itself even says that. I'd forgotten that for a moment. I saw Dan nodding his head like this. He may even know the quote, but do you happen to recall that quote, Dan? I don't either, but
everyone is called on the Holy Spirit at one time. Is that the one you're thinking?
Yeah, that's good enough.
Say it again.
Yeah, not everyone heard it, Stephen.
Everyone is called on the Holy Spirit at some point in their lifetime in this world.
They may not have used the term Holy Spirit. The Course says sometimes it's just more like a universal inspiration, you see. But it's there, it's the same reality, and it is available for you. So we're not saying that to truly be helpful in the world, you have to have the Course in Miracles in hand, or the Bible, or the Koran, or any other kind of book. It has to do with whether or not you have been tapped into and are receptive to a truth beyond this plane of existence. You may or may not be aware of it. I suspect that Spirit influences our thoughts many times, and we're just not even aware of it. Maybe suddenly a new song is in your mind and you rush to the piano and type out it and type out, but hit a few notes to, and write them down to find out, to remember what they are. And sure enough, it's a nice song. I like to think that whatever useful comes from me doesn't come from me. It comes through me. Anything that you like that I ever say, I didn't say. And I'm not the source of it. That when I say I didn't say it, yeah, my mouth said it, but I'm not the source of it. It's I say the source is spirit. I can say it's God, Jesus. The precise words don't matter, but it's not coming from the world. It's coming from beyond the world. It may project you into an energy body that we mentioned earlier. All right, that'd be rather dramatic, but that does happen sometimes. It may not. That doesn't matter either. Whatever body you have, you work through it, and the Holy Spirit will use your body to help heal your mind and to help you heal the minds of others. And that's what we're here for at present.
Bob,
Let me say, yes.
Liesel has her hand up.
Okay.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. I hear you fine.
Tamara and I were talking the other day, and I asked her a question. She's like, "I don't know. You need to ask this next week in the meeting." And I'm like, "Okay." And so we were talking, or I was asking her if basically, I guess the question is, do you feel like if we don't wake up to the truth in this lifetime, and do you think that we take our ego consciousness with us?
Yes. Is that a good enough answer?
Yes. Yes. So that would explain.
However, I would like to moderate that just a bit. And the source of what I'm saying is not my experience. I don't remember such experiences. But it's a little book called Many Wonderful Things. I highly recommend it. It is totally consistent with the course and is written in such a simple way that fourth graders could understand it, I think, almost. I mean, it's just very, very simple. And I've mentioned it here before, and it is about a hypnotherapist who was doing past life regressions. And he found a subject that was really, really receptive to that. And so he could hypnotize her, and then he would ask her, okay, who are you now? And she would say, for example, well, my name is Bibi, B-I-B-I. I'm a little shepherd girl, that herd sheep in England. She may not say it that way, but in whatever dialect, well, however she chooses to say it, but it would be simply said. And then he might find that she has other lives. Well, one day, when he did this and he asked her, what is your name? She said, I don't have a name. Well, what do you mean you don't have a name? I don't have a name. All right. Well, what kind of body are you in? I'm not in a body. What kind of life on earth are you having? I'm not having any kind of life on earth right now. I'm in between. Just call me I am. And so he began to ask I am all kinds of questions, of course. And going back to Liesel's question, this woman, I'll call her I am or BB, whichever you wish. She was not a perfected being, if you want. I mean, in terms of having recognized her total perfection. We are all perfect, but we have not all recognized that fact. But what she said was this: I'm surrounded by love. If there's an ego in her, it can't say much of anything. It's just surrounded by the light and love of the universe, if you like. It would, I'm sure, and as soon as it gets out of that, it will start speaking again. You see, so when you die, you're not going to be at the mercy of the ego. The ego is going to be based sort of like it's pushed down. It's not really pushed. It's just you're immersed in love and light that comes from beyond you. You're aware of it. And its voice cannot be heard very well. But you know that it's still, you have to do something about it. BB, or this lady, knew she had to return. There were things that she had to learn here. And she was looking forward to doing that. So maybe the ego gets shoved aside, but it's still there. And so when you're born again, you still have an ego. Now, if on the other hand, the ego were not present, you would not be, there'd be no point in coming back here again. You see, I guess maybe you could if you really, really wanted, but why would you want? The world has nothing to offer. It would have to be purely out of the desire to help others, you know, because you don't need it. When anybody here after they graduated from high school decided to go back and take 8th grade again? I mean, you know, why exactly would you do that? Yeah. Or 9th grade or any other grade for that matter. Lisa, did that get at your question okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Well, again, it didn't come from me. I don't know squat about that. You know, I have no idea as far as my own experience is concerned, because I simply don't have memories of that. Well, this young woman had memories. They were buried just like mine are buried. I'm sure I know all that too, if you could go down deep enough in the mind, but to dredge them up. But this hypnotist was able to do this. And what's really interesting about this, everything she said was consistent with the course. She didn't say as many things as the course. The course is a big book, but everything she did say was consistent with it. Now, I would like to expand on Lisa's question a little bit. What do you have to do to make sure it all happens in this life? Because that's the next question. And this woman answered that. She said, if you want to do it in this life, then in this life, you must take the Holy Spirit as your partner in anything and everything you think and therefore do. If you do that, you're through. When you pass out of this world, there's just no point in coming back. You have learned what needs to be learned here. I regard that as perfectly consistent with the course, although the course does not say that. It doesn't address the question of how many lifetimes. It just doesn't talk about that. But she was asked, and so she said, and she emphasized it. This is what you need to do. The Holy Spirit must not be your part-time assistant. That's just not sufficient. You take him in as your permanent married partner, kind of like, I mean, and everything you do in consultation. I don't mean that in a mechanical sense. The Course in Miracles says you don't actually have to literally ask the Holy Spirit if you need to brush your teeth after you eat. It's not necessary. It says, but you need the attitude of desire and receptiveness for the guidance throughout the day. When you see that fade away, then ask. And then keep going. You don't have to keep saying, I'm asking. That'd be ridiculous, you know. But just when you get up, first thing when you get up in the morning, anytime you feel it slipping away, do it again, you know. If you want that, then you don't have another purpose for the world. The Holy Spirit's not going to give you a purpose for the world other than that of healing. So you are therefore definitely demonstrating throughout the whole day that is the only purpose that you see. And that means your lessons will be gentle lessons. That's the teaching of the Course. Thanks.